Hey, everybody. I got an email yesterday from a man named Carlos letting me know that this is the 182nd ranked food podcast in Mexico. It was a congratulatory email. This email made me wonder, would it be funny if I changed the title of this podcast to Top Ranked Food Podcast, number one rated food podcast? Let me know. My email is fitzhenrymort@gmail.com. Okay. Pistachio wars, news and updates. I talked a little bit about pistachios and the lobbying efforts behind pistachios. And I found a Times of India article outlining the pistachio wars. It's called the $5 billion pistachio war. How the US and Turkey are wiping Iran off the map. I'm not going to really go into this because this is not what I'm trying to focus on, but I did want to back up my claim with some reporting. This is why you're seeing pistachio commercials everywhere. This is why pistachios are blowing up. The US and Iran are neck and neck in pistachio production, and we're really trying to wipe Iran off the map in more ways than one, apparently. Okay, big news in food. Cisco, the food distributor who is supplying all of your least favorite restaurants with food. Cisco, the food distributor, not the artist behind the thong song, is acquiring Restaurant Depot. People are worried about this because it's just compromising food diversity and even more than is already a problem. I don't know, people are freaking out about this, but it's like, okay, these restaurants are already buying garbage from Restaurant Depot. Like, what's the difference if they just buy garbage that from Restaurant Depot that's owned by Cisco? There's really no difference. It's all garbage. There's a coffee shop in Chicago called the Jumping Bean. I'm pretty sure they buy all of their baked goods from Restaurant Depot, like pre-made focaccia, pasta salad. It's disgusting. What's the difference if it's just another disgusting food supplier? So, monopolies, obviously we don't want monopolies, but I think this is going to pass the monopoly test because Restaurant Depot and Cisco have different models, business models. Okay, anyway, not food related, but there's a new space mission to scope out the dark side of the moon. I didn't know about this until my sister texted me about it. I wish they would send Katy Perry back to space for good this time. Get her out of here. This could be the way to get rid of her. They could play Baby You're a Firework as she blasts away. Okay, beans. I still have a lot of beans. We're moving out of news territory and more into updates about what's going on in my food life. Beans. I have a lot of beans still. My mom is aware of this, so now she's just sending me bean recipes. She has sent me a New York Times recipe for broccoli and white bean Caesar, which sounds pretty good. She's also sent me a recipe for butter bean dip with frizzled onions and preserved lemon. I am anti-preserved lemon, I think. I don't think it's for me. Um, and I think the new New York Times recipe thing is frizzled. I think that's their new word. I think they're transitioning away from garlicky, herby, lemony, and they're moving into frizzled. And actually, this is a bean recipe that I sent myself from TikTok. Meliz Cooks, Meliz Cooks. This is a TikTok person. She has a cookbook. This recipe is called, well, the video is going too fast, so I don't know. But she's making a bean salad. Now, she is slicing halloumi and frying it in olive oil, which immediately caught my attention. So she's putting beans, pomegranate seeds, cucumber, peppers, all kinds of herbs, dried herbs, which I'm just like, I don't know, some sumac, onions. She made a dressing and then she finishes it with the crispy halloumi. This looks like an amazing salad. Um, oh, here's the recipe. Okay, it's called cannellini bean crispy helim or halloumi and crunchy walnut salad. Halloumi, olive oil, cannellini beans, coriander, pomegranate, cucumbers. Yeah, I don't know about walnuts. I don't think I need that in a salad, but I don't know. Maybe I'll make this. Thanks, Melise. I have some more thoughts about the hot chicken salad that I talked about last week, made by Brian's mother. I'm very harsh on this salad, if you want to call it that. It's not really a salad. It's a casserole. When I first had this, I was new to the area. I was new to the South, new to the concept of the South, and the novelty of a hot casserole topped with crispy, salty potato chips was a delight. I was intrigued, and time eventually began to pass, and the reality of eating hot mayonnaise with soggy potato chips on top of it began to sink in. And it's disgusting. Also, you really have to top the casserole with the potato chips after it comes out of the oven, otherwise it gets soggy. So I can understand there was a time where I lied and said I like this, but I think it wasn't a full lie. I think there was some truth behind it. I was delighted by such a concept. But I'm over it now. Okay, let's get, on a similar vein, let's get into those spiral bound community cookbooks that Brian's mom is letting me borrow. These are, cookbooks with titles like Our Favorite Recipes from Our Church, where our is a long list of women who have passed away. And the recipes are just really different lists of canned foods that you can open and pour into a casserole dish. Did I say this last episode? Brian's mom was talking me through these cookbooks, and she was like, "Oh my God, I could not cook like this every day. It is just too much work. Do you cook like this?" If she only knew that I had a food podcast talking about how I basically cook from scratch every day because I'm so cheap, but also I actually do enjoy doing it. Now, let's talk about A Taste of Paradise. This is a Hawaiian recipe book in the stack of Spiral Bound Community cookbooks from 1992. It is compiled by the wives of the military base that Brian's family lived on in Hawaii. So it's a little bit more diverse than the North Carolina church cookbooks, but it's still very much like cans of stuff poured out into a casserole dish and baked. Okay, mock chicken is my first recipe that I want to share with you from this book. 1 pound of hamburger, uncooked, grated onion to taste, 1 beaten egg, 1 cup of milk, salt and pepper to taste, 1 can of condensed chicken noodle soup, 2 cans of seasoned croutons. Mix all the ingredients together, place in a buttered casserole dish, bake at 350 for 45 to 60 minutes uncovered. This is a quick meat dish to make and has chicken and dressing flavor. What? This recipe confused me. Mock chicken, but you're using hamburger meat. It's not a vegetarian recipe. But then you're using chicken noodle soup, so it's not like you're actually getting rid of the chicken. There's still chicken in there. This recipe makes zero sense to me. Why would you ever create this? Maybe there's something about it that I'm not understanding. Was there like a chicken shortage at one point? I do not understand. Okay. Next recipe, Mother's sticky chicken. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 3/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper, half teaspoon onion powder, half teaspoon thyme, 1/4 teaspoon white pepper, 1/4 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, 1 to 3 pounds of chicken. That is a huge range. 1 cup of onions chopped, In a small bowl, combine all the spices, rub the mixture into the chicken, inside and out, patting mixture into skin, and make sure it is evenly distributed down deep into the skin. Place in a sealable plastic bag, seal, and refrigerate overnight. When ready to roast the chicken, stuff the cavity with onions. Roast uncovered about 250 about 5 hours, basting occasionally with pan juices or until pan juices start to caramelize on the bottom of the pan and the chicken is golden brown. Serves 4. Okay, so this is a 1 to 3 pound whole chicken. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. It's still a wide range. Like you're going to want to adjust your salt and everything else based on that. Um, I don't know why this is sticky. Like, why would this, like, there isn't any sugar in it. Why would it be called sticky chicken? This didn't make any sense to me. I was hoping for more of like a mall chicken recipe from like the mall, the Chinese place in the mall food court with like the sticky, sweet ketchupy sauce. Let's move on to Robin Leach's really rich and expensive chicken. I don't know why I only picked out chicken recipes, but 1 whole chicken cut into parts, black pepper, oregano, or your own favorite spices to taste. 2 medium onions sliced. 1 can of baby peas. 1 can of baby carrots. 1 can of mushroom soup. 1 can sliced potatoes or 1 pound of sliced fresh potatoes. 1 bottle of champagne. Wash and dry the chicken. Roll chicken parts in the spice mixture. Place sliced onions in a deep dish baking pan. Add a dash of champagne on the bottom of the pan. Then place the chicken, peas, more herbs, and carrots over the onions. Add a dash more of champagne on top of the mixture. Then smooth on the mushroom soup over the chicken and vegetables. Add the sliced potatoes on top of the mixture. Pour more champagne over that. Make sure you have enough champagne to level covering vegetables. The alcohol in the champagne will be cooked off. Cover the dish and bake at 425 for an hour. Remove the lid and brown for 15 minutes. This recipe didn't make any sense to me because it's called really rich and expensive chicken. You're using a bottle of champagne, but you're using canned peas and carrots and canned potatoes. If you're going to make expensive chicken, why are you skimping? Why are you using pre-cooked vegetables in a can that are just going to get even mushier in the oven? This doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to make really rich and expensive chicken, go for it. Okay, here's a non-chicken recipe that I'll share with you from the book. This is the last recipe I'm going to share. Cowtown screws and nuts is what it's called. Seasoning sauce, 1.5 cup of bacon drippings, 1 cup of butter melted, 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of Tabasco, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. Cereal mix, 1 box of Cheerios, 1 large bag of pretzels, 1 box of corn Chex, 1 box of wheat Chex, 1 box of rice Chex, 1 small bag of Fritos, 4 cups of nuts, any combination. Heat seasoning sauce ingredients and mix thoroughly. Combine the cereal mix in 2 large roasting pans. Pour seasoning sauce over and top and mix well. Bake at 225 for 2 to 3 hours, stirring frequently. Let cool before storing in plastic bags or in airtight containers. Can be frozen and thawed as needed. That's interesting. I would make this, I think. Sounds like a fun Chex Mix. I don't know if I would do Cheerios. Okay, let's move on to scents. I do want to talk about one scent this week in particular. Fern Samhain. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Fern, Fern. As you know, I ordered more samples. I am going to do them sparingly, but I am going to do them. Oh wait, I got an email from Ministry of Scents, who loves to email me. They wanted to let me know that this person, Giuseppe Imprezzabile, aka Mayo Fushuni, is I don't know. They have samples from him. He makes perfume, and I've actually heard of this guy. He makes really nostalgic perfumes. I'm interested in trying them. Sorry that I butchered how to say all of this, but Mayo Fushini is what it's called. I'm probably going to order these at some point, just to let you know. Okay, so let's get into Fern Samheim. Official description. I don't know how to say this person's name. Elodie Durand says, I wanted to reflect Samhain's transitional nature with a fragrance that feels both green and introspective. To me, this batch smells like walking through a wild garden at dusk with the scent of leaves and memory all around. Samhain is described as a solar girl. This is copied. I don't know what solar, Souler. A solar girl makes her way through the forest. Tread softly as you pass through, for you are treading on dreams. The way is lit with honeyed florals glowing like lanterns, an accord of neroli, jasmine grandiflorium, and mandarin shines, notes of nectar and apricot chiming with the citrus. For the sylvan notes of the forest, they blended red cedar and nutmeg, dry and spiced. Beneath this, they laid an earthy base of vetiver and patchouli, cushioned by vanilla like tonka bean with its edge of musk. Around, the land is still green, with ferns and late flowers underfoot, a tapestry of shadows. Samhain night can turn. Mischievous spirits are abroad as well as good ones. Who wrote this? With a basket full of soul cakes she has sung for in the village, our Suler girl tires. The sugar sharp sweetness of rare Divana is called up as her eyelids droop. Humming a lament to keep herself awake, she dings her golden bell. Okay, this is insane. Let's move on. Top notes. Uh, black currant bud, timut pepper, sweet orange rind, Divana, nutmeg, green mandarin rind, lemon rind, and galbanum. Middle notes are neroli, carrot seed, bergamot rind, violet leaf, petitgrain, rose de may or mai, basil granvert, and jasmine grandiflorium. Base notes tonka bean, orris, brown-eyed rock rose, red cedar, vetiver root, patchouli, and siam benzoin. Okay. My review, super peppery and vetiver up front, but not in a musty way. This softens and becomes more powdery, soapy, and iris emerges. This is a nice scent. It makes me excited to try the other fern samples, but my socks have not been blown off, I would say. I will also say that the tonka bean note was too strong. As you know, I'm not into the vanilla. But overall, I mean, I love this description. I love all of these scent notes. So can't wait for the other samples. Okay, let's get into the internet. The first thing I want to talk about are burger cookies. Not what you would think. I can't believe I missed these when I was in Baltimore. Burger cookies are a handmade cookie made and marketed by De Beaufort Bakeries of Baltimore, Maryland. The cookies are widely known for their thick chocolate frosting on an imperfectly shaped shortbread cookie. Similar to a black and white cookie, the burger cookie is frosted on its flat bottom, giving the final cookie an overall rounded shape. I mean, this is right up my alley. The frosting to cookie ratio is insane. I'm reading from the Wikipedia page right now. Uh, yeah, I'm super disappointed that I didn't know about these before my Baltimore trip. I mean, I am constantly driving through Baltimore, and I think I'm going to DC again next month, so maybe I'll stop and get some burger cookies. Just a huge glob of what looks like glossy, almost Dunkaroo frosting on top of a cookie. I wish it was cake-like base instead of a shortbread, but uh, shortbread seems a little rich. Anyway, mysterious TikTok video. Let's click on it. This is from Nikki Small Seats, New York. Ooh, she's making a sandwich called a spicy Caroline. Where is she? Um, G&R Deli. I think it's in the Bronx, which I'll also be passing through. Because after I go to DC next month, I think I'm going to go up to Connecticut. So maybe I could hit this up. So, okay, I'm missing everything. It's called a spicy Caroline. Bunch of coleslaw on a roll, I mean a long roll. Bunch of chicken cutlets that have pepperoni cheese melted over it. She says it's really hard to find. And then she has homemade chili crisp that she made, and she's putting a bunch of that on. This sounds divine. It's on my map, so I need to make a stop there. I saw a video on TikTok for something called fromage fort, just leftover cheese. I guess I think well, a lot of the comments are agreeing with me that Americans just make mac and cheese with their leftover cheese nubs, but I guess the French make fromage fort and melt the cheese down with wine and then make like a cheese sauce. Speaking of wine, I saw a video of Elizabeth Mincilli, who leads those Italian tours, which I regret not booking, even though it's extremely expensive. I also don't regret it because I saw who's going on these tours. It's all very old couples who like have money to burn before they pass away. So probably would have been weird for me to go on that. She was visiting someone who was making Italian meatballs on her food tour, and they were making like quarter-size meatballs with white wine instead of milk. And then instead of searing off the meatballs, they just add them raw into a tomato sauce off the heat, kind of swirl the pan around, swirl the meatballs around the sauce just to cook them through until they're just done. And sounds interesting. I did put a TikTok link. I'm not going to click on it. Okay, here's another random TikTok video. Let's click through. Oh. Yeah, this is an America's Test Kitchen video, which tells you how to level up your ham. They're telling you to cook your ham in a plastic bag in the oven on a sheet tray, but in a plastic bag, which is insane to me. Don't do that. Okay. Um, Mostly, I mean, my TikTok algorithm has obviously been a lot of food videos, but Morgan McGraw has really dominated out of nowhere. I didn't know who this person was until this past week. And I have no idea why she's on a press tour. I don't know what she's trying to promote, but I mean, I still don't actually know who she is. I had to look her up. I guess she was like on a reality show about Beverly Hills kids who are wealthy, and she's currently married to Dr. Phil's son. Actually, I saw Dr. Phil and his whole family in Monaco, the country, not the clothing store. Um, I was 16. I don't know why. I was in summer school in Italy or in Switzerland, whatever, on the border. I don't know why my school took us to Monaco because there's nothing for a group of 14 to 16-year-olds to do in Monaco when you don't own a yacht, you're not wealthy enough to do anything, and you're too young to gamble. I don't know why. We just kind of like walked around and saw Dr. Phil. Yeah, the 20-year-old chaperones that took us to Monaco quickly realized this and took us home. So that was a super educational trip. Um, this was the same summer that I lived with 17 Puerto Rican girls in a dorm at the American school in Switzerland. We were all on the same floor of the dorm. I guess they grouped us all together because we were technically Americans all together. My roommate bought a bottle of white rum and hid it in her closet. And before I left on this weekend trip, I think we were going to France and Monaco, she made me take a swig of the rum. I'd never had alcohol before. I was 15 or 16. She made me take a swig. It knocked my socks off to the point that I forgot my wallet, giving me even more reason not to be in Monaco. I went to Monaco without a wallet. Okay, imagine being Dr. Phil's daughter-in-law, Morgan McGraw, who we still don't know who she is. And you're on your annual family yacht trip to Monaco, and you have to sit across from him at dinner while Dr. Phil clips are blasting full volume in your head on a loop. Open the door, or I'm going to throw rocks through your windows, you dumb whore. Anyway, I'm enjoying her content. She's pretty funny. Um, she's doing these videos. I mean, I'm watching like interviews on podcasts where she's funny. Now my algorithm is videos of her in her closet, which is not as entertaining to me. I don't really care. She's always just like talking about which items from the row she's wearing. I actually have clothes from the row, Mary Kate and Ashley's clothing line that is insanely expensive. The only reason I have them is because I was a clothing buyer at one point and I got them for dirt cheap. And they're fabulous. I have a few pairs of pants that I only wear on special occasions. Um, but I'm also one I think like the quality of the row must have been better like 10, 12 years ago when I got all these clothes than they are now. Like everybody's clothing quality has gone downhill, especially post COVID. Um, and I do need to get out of my scarcity mindset and wear the row pants instead of hoarding them in my closet. Actually, to get myself out of my scarcity mindset, so Alana Cohn shut down her line, her clothing line last year and relaunched as Samet or Samet. And she basically just like wanted to I don't know why she did it, but it seems in her emails that she just wanted to work independently again. So she's relaunched Abe pants. She has all these dead stock Abe pants that she's selling. I did buy 2 pairs because these are the pants that I want, and I'm just wasting money on other similar pants that aren't really the thing that I want. I bought those Rudy Jude pants that I'll probably never get in the mail because I was missing the Abe pants. So I ordered 2 pairs and, thank God that they're back. Anyway, back to clothes. Megan, wait, what's this girl's name? Hold on. Morgan McGraw. Her clothing videos are inspiring me to maybe do videos of what I wear, like videos of me choosing which style of Adam Sandler shorts do I want to put on that day. Like my black mesh champion basketball shorts or my other really long and baggy Reebok shorts. That's basically what I'm choosing between every day. Um, I do think that my best look is black champion mesh basketball shorts. They really are my best look. That and a black turtleneck. I don't really feel comfortable wearing that out in public, but I think I should get over it and start wearing it. Brian says that I need to stop dressing like Adam Sandler. I think he's a little bit embarrassed by me, especially because I used to dress a lot better. But look, who's the person who played Barbie? Shoot. You know who played Barbie. The person who played Barbie, there was like a picture of her at the airport, and she was wearing a black long sleeve boxy shirt and then these sort of silk drawstring, loose and long boxy shorts. And that's the look that I'm going for with my black top um, and then my black mesh basketball shorts because the the fit of the black mesh basketball shorts are perfect for me. That's what I need in a short. Very elegant, but they at the end of the day, they're basketball shorts, and that's the issue. If I could find an elevated version of that, like what Barbie is wearing in the airport, then that would be what I wore. I did try and look up the silk shorts that she's wearing. I mean, I'm sure they're insanely expensive. I couldn't find them, but anyway, or maybe I'll just start like a basketball short trend. Except everybody in the county that I live in are basically already wearing some version of basketball shorts around, so I don't think I'm gonna be much of a trendsetter here. Let's move on. This isn't even food related. Okay, corn dog donut. There's an Instagram video of a corn dog donut that I found. I remember showing my Korean roommate in college a corn dog for the first time, explaining to her the concept of a corn dog. She was fascinated by it. I mean, to be fair, she mostly grew up in South Africa, but went back to Korea for high school and was born in Korea. She had no idea what a corn dog was, which is crazy because Korea is the corn dog capital now. They've changed the corn dog industry. So let's click through this Instagram link. Okie dokie donuts. Where are you located? Okay, so they do a corn dog donut. So it looks like an old-fashioned donut, but there is a hot dog in the middle of it. Where are you located? How do I find this out? They're in South Philadelphia. I will be going there sometime. Oh, gluten-free. Okay. Um, America's Test Kitchen English muffins. Now, I am writing America's Test Kitchen off because they want you to cook ham in a plastic bag, but I do want to make their English muffin recipe, which looks pretty simple. I did kill my sourdough starter, but it is warm enough in my house to proof bread again, and I'm sick of not being able to find a good organic bread that is affordable. It is so hard to find organic bread. Like, I I don't know where to find it, and if I did find it, it would probably be insanely expensive. So I just need to, I have ways to buy great organic flour from great mills. I still have some on hand. I just need to make my own bread again and stop being lazy. Now that gas prices are up and maybe we'll all be spending more time at home, I'll have more time to make bread again, cook beans. Okay, what's this? What is this recipe? I don't have time to read this recipe, but I'll let you know if I make it. Okay, the rebranding of Froyo is happening. I remember when I went to college in New York, Pinkberry was all the rage. That lasted for a while. There's like Red Frog, there are all these places. Now Froyo is back, but it's chic. There's Birdies, there's Mimi's, there are all kind of places. You can wait in line again to get Froyo and probably pay like 4 times as much. Pinkberry is delicious. I talked about the time I got Pinkberry last September in the Detroit airport. It was a delight. And I don't know, I'm just gonna stick with that, I think. I don't think I need to pay $20 to eat frozen yogurt in what looks to be Meadow Lane. What is that aesthetic called? It's the Meadow Lane. It's the you can't leave this place without spending $125 on lunch. That's the vibe. Okay, the Ideals Easter special I do want to share with you. Jammy egg, jambon de Paris, marinated shallots, all stuffed in our panuozzo bread. Get it without the ham to make it vegetarian. It looks amazing. I don't know what panuozzo is. Hold on. Panuozzo, traditional Italian street food from the Campania region, especially a large folded sandwich made from pizza dough that's baked, sliced open, filled with ingredients. Cool. Okay. Um Words with Bones, that's a TikTok user, does a breakdown of why Korean snacks and dishes are so sweet, which is really great. Um Words with Bones, that's the username. Check it out. It's something I've been wondering. I mean, the sweetness of bulgogi is what really got me into Korean food. I was like, this is amazing. But then the more I eat Korean food, I'm like, oh my God, this is too sweet, especially the chips. Like, why is it all so sweet? And I don't really eat a lot of Korean food anymore because it all kind of skews too sweet for me. But this was an interesting breakdown of the history of that and the chef that is ultimately responsible. Okay. Here's a memory that I wanted to share with you. I once worked at a tiki bar and a lady came in and requested that we cover the alligator, the fake alligator on the wall with a blanket because it scared her. Okay, let's get into America's Culinary Cup Season 1, Episode 5. By the way, my TV colors are broken. We inherited this huge TV from Brian's brother, and he watched so much MSNBC during the pandemic that the MSNBC logo is burned into the corner and all the colors are off. So food looks very strange. Um, so basically, I'm watching this show blindfolded. I can't smell or taste the food, and I can't even really see it. Turned on this episode. Brian said, "Thank you for scouring the nation for these contestants, Padma, and promptly fell asleep. So they're interviewing the contestants who are saying things like, I definitely want to win the prize money. Wow. Incredible interviews happening on the show. These people will not stop talking about themselves and revealing weaknesses and preferences, which is so idiotic to me in a show like this, where people get to pick teams or, pick which ingredient you have to cook with. Like, stop revealing information about yourself. But these chefs cannot help but talk about themselves on the show, and is ultimately their own downfall. So we're back in the hideous kitchen, the hideous marble kitchen that looks like a train station. There's a vegetable display. Some of the greens are looking very past their prime. I think that this week's commandment is vegetables, but I actually missed it. But that's what I'm going to assume that she said. So there are 3 teams of 3. Each team has to cook a 3-course meal of vegetables, brought to you by Dawn Power Wash. A bunch of Padma's friends show up to eat the vegetables and judge the vegetables. Then they do an Ocean's 11 style montage to introduce each of them like they're secret agents. Priya Krishna, formerly of the Bon Appetit Test Kitchen OG crew at its peak, is there, and then a bunch of Michelin star chefs who I don't know. Okay, appetizer round. Keith, the man who sweats profusely, wins with a miso glazed eggplant steak. Then there's the main dish round. Beverly is making a broccoli steak. Overall, she's doing well in this competition, except she immediately lost me when she was up against this other contestant and she won. He got sent home. And instead of shaking his hand or anything remotely polite, she started jumping up and down and screaming and clapping her hands and totally ignoring him. She kind of lost me there. I mean, not that everybody needs to be a saint, but she seems a little bit self-involved and completely unhinged. Matt, the French competition winner, I forget what it's called. Matt Beaucoup d'Or. Matt makes a potato scaled eggplant, which goes over well, although Priya, who is sitting in a penthouse designed to look like Grand Central at a table of Michelin starred chefs, says that his dish is too fussy. Padma comes out to reveal the scores and says that the tension is very tense. Beverly wins this round. Dessert round. Buddha makes cauliflower ice cream on a date cake. Katie makes a beetroot parfait. Kara makes a saku, a Burmese street food style dessert with garlic and onion in it. The judges say, yeah, that was interesting. So this is a team challenge. Beverly's team ends up winning. She immediately starts screaming up and jumping up and down. Also, when they went into the room to see all of Padma's friends, she was like, she knew everybody at that table and was being obnoxious about it. Okay. Katie, Emily, and Matt's team lose, so then they all have to cook against each other using the three sisters bean, corn, and squash. Katie is freaking out because she's apparently never cooked with those ingredients before, which is insane to me. I think she has a Michelin star. It's like, you've never made succotash? Okay, so it's like you've never cooked in the summer before. This is what I would do. I would sear some chicken thighs in some olive oil, finish them in a tomato garlic butter sauce with butter beans and squash, and finish it with some sweet corn and basil. Matt decides to use grits as his corn component, which is pretty fun. Summer squash, to me, any type of squash, I don't know. Summer squash is a waste of space to me. Like, it doesn't really have any flavor or nutritional value. It's just like, it's like eating styrofoam. Katie makes arroz meloso, which translates to honey-like arroz because it's very smooth, I guess. It's like risotto. Katie has decided to use delicata squash, which Buddha says is more like using a cousin rather than a sister. Brian woke up at this point and started yelling that the judges were speaking gibberish, which they were. Matt made undercooked vegetables with popcorn. Emily made a tartare. Spoiler alert, Emily is sent home, but not before asking Padma if she wants to hang out. Okay, this show is boring, but let's go over to Top Chef season 23, episode 4, which is a little bit more interesting. Here we are again in Charlotte, where every building looks like it's been built in the last year using Legos and could be the set of any reality show. Tristan, former Top Chef winner, is the guest judge for the quickfire and really the whole episode. So Tristan is a level 1 Psalm, whatever that means. So this segment is hosted by Josh Wine and is wine themed. Thank God. The challenge is to work in teams to create a food flight that pairs with a Josh wine flight. Duyen owns a wine and champagne company, so let's see how quickly she goes down in this episode. Justin, who is part of the couple on the team, his wife is the one with the broken arm. Justin is making artichokes, which he says are notoriously difficult to pair with wine, so that's a great idea. His wife, Jessica's shoulder is still broken or whatever, so he's helping her flip toast so she's not doing so hot. So they're in teams by color. The green team does a seafood flight, which the judges say was a bad pairing overall, and seafood was too broad of a theme. Red team does a cheese flight. Duyen, who owns the wine company, actually did a great job pairing their dishes. Shocker. Maybe she also owns a grocery store wine brand. Blue team did an egg flight. They won, which was a shock to me. Cream team did a mochi flight. The mochi dough was underdone. It looked disgusting. They didn't do well. Okay, elimination challenge is to turn a southern side dish into a main and then serve it to 40 people. But first, they get to visit an urban farm and meet a person named Wisdom. One of the contestants, immediately upon arrival at the farm, declares that the turkeys are ugly. Then someone shouts main dish energy so that you don't forget that you're watching Bravo. Sherry, who's one of the contestants, I think she's from Argentina, FaceTimes her son in the middle of the farm scene. She FaceTimes her son, who is in boot camp in the army. So the episode briefly becomes an army recruitment commercial, I guess to balance out all the gay from the Bravo. Brittany realizes that the sausage and collards dish that she thought was cooking in the oven the whole time is still raw because she never turned the oven on. So she's screwed. She still manages to put something on the plate. She makes a collard roll up. The judges describe it as room temperature, no sausage to be found, sharp and mushy at the same time. That's not good. Seeger wins the challenge, even though he was the only person to opt for the okra. They all got to choose which side, and he's the only person who chose the okra, which is always a risk on Top Chef because Tom Colicchio, Top Chef judge, notoriously hates okra. Anthony, Jen, the broken arm lady, and Brittany are in the bottom. Spoiler alert, Brittany is sent home, which is fine because she lives in Charlotte. She could probably walk home. Although she's actually going to be on Last Chance Kitchen, which is my favorite part of Top Chef. So we get to see more of Tom Colicchio. I love Tom Colicchio, even though he did agree to participate in Meghan Markle's Netflix special. So first episode of Last Chance Kitchen, they have Brittany going head to head with Nana. I forget how she says her name. Nana. I'm shocked that they invited Nana to be on Last Chance Kitchen because Last Chance Kitchen is notoriously more stressful than the real show. They have 30 minutes to make something. So they show a clip of Nana praying, hands in prayer pose, praying, being zen. We'll see if it works for her. So they have 30 minutes to make a dish that is reflective of who they are. There's always so little time given to the contestants on Last Chance Kitchen that really everybody's forced to make fish dishes or salad dishes at the end of the day. It's pretty boring. People are making really boring dishes. So I don't think it's that fair of a competition. They're making boring dishes for weeks on end, and then Whoever makes the least boring dish gets to go back into the competition. Brittany says during all of this that she's still trying to figure out what kind of chef she is, which is an insane thing to say as a restaurant owner, but maybe not an insane thing to say as someone who owns a restaurant in the nebulous city of Charlotte, the backdrop of any and every reality show that also doubles as the world's largest IKEA showroom. Okay, Brittany and Nana basically make the same thing. They basically make like tomato and corn and seared fish. Nana wins without having a mental breakdown, which is a win within itself. So we're going to be seeing more of her. Praying works, I guess. Okay, let's get into what I ate last week. We're going to start with March 30th, 2026. It was a Monday, 8 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home, 10 a.m. Bran flakes with milk, 12:30 p.m. Whole Foods garlic and herb water crackers with good culture chive cream cheese. 6 p.m. a Cajun ranch chicken wrap and cheese curds at Cookout in Creedmoor, North Carolina. 8 p.m. popcorn and part of a full steam pilsner at Carolina Theater in Durham, North Carolina. You know, some days or sometimes most days, I really am just eating a series of different combinations of carb and dairy. This day was one of those. I had some pretty good Coke Zeros today at both Carolina Theater and Cookout. And I was at Carolina Theater to see the On Cinema tour with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington. And spoiler alert, they announced that On Cinema is not. I think the tour's over by now, so I can say this. Um, there's going to be another season of On Cinema, so that's good. All right, March 31st, 2026. It was a Tuesday. 7:30 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. 3 sunny eggs with sriracha over olive oil toasted La Farm sourdough made at home. 12 p.m. Whole Foods garlic and herb water crackers with good culture chive cream cheese. 6:30 p.m. Thai red curry with pork, green peppers, potatoes, and green beans over basmati rice made at home. 7:30 p.m. A slice of chocolate buttermilk cake with chocolate icing made at home. I had a package of green beans that I got on sale at Whole Foods that I needed to use up in some sort of red sauce. I was going to make a tomato sauce or maybe a curry sauce, and I think I prefer green beans in a Thai curry. And then I slow cooked some of the small purple tomatoes that I have in there, and they were delicious. Chocolate cake. I've been on a mission to make cake, and this was the week that I actually made the cake. I made 2 chocolate cakes this week. Let's start with the first one that I made on this day. Now, to preface this, I keep encountering people who hate chocolate cake, which feels insane to me. It could be that the scene from Matilda where Bruce is forced to eat a whole giant chocolate cake scarred too many people my age, and people are disgusted by chocolate cake. I'm thinking that that is a real phenomenon. But to universally hate the concept of chocolate cake does not make a lot of sense to me. Chocolate cakes can be different, some are better than others. I remember sitting around the lunch table when I worked at the farm. We would always have an hour lunch, paid hour lunch. We would get free lunch too. It was amazing. We would sit around and talk, and we would often talk about food. We were talking about cakes. I think someone's birthday was coming up. And I remember these 2 people started talking about how much they hated chocolate cake and how disgusting it was. They were almost screaming. And anybody that likes chocolate cake is disgusting. Our boss at the time said, "Come on, guys, that's my favorite flavor." And they eventually stopped. But I was just like, this is an extremely immature reaction. Why are you screaming about chocolate cake? Until you've had every version of chocolate cake that there is out there, you don't know whether or not you like chocolate cake. Now, I think I can confidently say within reason that I don't like bananas because every banana tastes the same because we only have one banana variety left. I feel confident about saying that. They're not for me. I don't hate them, they're just not for me. Recently, my mother said that she hated layer cake, which also is insane to me. You're just going to universally hate a cake because of its structure and it happens to have layers. Doesn't make any sense. A lot of layer cakes, I mean, I've had a lot of bad layer cakes or like wedding cakes that are dry and awful. I used to work weddings at Talia Hall and oof, some bad, bad cakes with a lot of layers. But that doesn't mean that all layer cakes are bad. That doesn't make any sense. Um, so also Brian told me I was giving him cake. We were eating cake all week, and he's like, I was like, "What's your favorite cake, Brian?" He's like, "I don't actually like cake, so we might break up." I used to be a person who declared that I hated pie, which I don't think is fair, and I take that back. There are a lot of pies that I don't like, but to say that I universally hate pie isn't an accurate statement because there's so many different types of pies, and I've had pies that I like. And Brian is over here telling me that he hates cake while he's eating a piece of cake every night. Makes zero sense to me. Okay, so I love cake. I love chocolate cake, cold chocolate cake. I've been wanting to make one for a while now, as you know. I have cocoa powder finally. I decided I'm going for it. I decided to gamble my groceries away on a recipe from a blog called Southern Bite, which sounds like a regional variant of lockjaw. So you could Google recipes, especially cake recipes, every day for 20 years and still get a list of Google search results that includes a long list of blogs you've never heard of. Stacy's Spicy Kitchen, Southern Woman Cooks Alone. I don't know. I mean, it's just insane. And it's like, how are you supposed to vet these blogs from people you've never heard of? They could be completely AI generated. I almost made a Pioneer Woman recipe for a Texas sheet cake that looked a little bit fudgier and had pecans in the frosting, but then I quickly regained consciousness. But the thing about that was like, I know that she's vetted by the Food Network, even though they're not really that great. But no, I'm not making a Pioneer Woman recipe. So I stupidly made a Southern Bite recipe. I chose this recipe based off of the photo of the cake alone, which looked appealing to me. I skimped, let me pull up this recipe. Buttermilk chocolate cake. Now, the recipe, I mean, the frosting looks like it has like a hardened top. Ooh, it just looks like it looks like like fudge. Like you're really gonna sink your teeth into it. This was misleading. Um, I would never make this again. Where's the recipe? I'm scrolling through this person's journal to get to this recipe. First of all, I have this recipe. This is for a 9 by 13 pan. So I have this. 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of sugar, half a cup of unsalted butter, 3 tablespoons cocoa powder, half a cup of vegetable oil, Jesus, 1 cup of water, 3 eggs, half a cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. The icing, this is where the cake itself was fine. The icing was garbage. Okay, half a cup of unsalted butter, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 1 16-ounce box of powdered sugar, which is way too much, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 6 to 8 tablespoons of buttermilk. So for both stages of the recipe, the cake and the icing, they want you to bloom the cocoa in the butter. So the icing has melted butter in it, which I think is a complete mistake. The icing was grainy and runny. Like it didn't really firm up like a proper icing. Maybe user error. I don't know, but it just was not right. And the cake itself, I mean, I skimped on the sugar and even went heavy on the salt, and this was still way too sweet. Now, the original cake in a 9 by 13 pan told you to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes. I cooked it for about 20 something minutes, 23 minutes, and the edges were still completely burnt. It was insane. I would not make this again. Southern Bite Bites. The waste of my groceries. I actually ended up throwing it away. Because look, if I'm gonna use ingredients like sunk cost fallacy, like I've already wasted these ingredients, I might as well throw them away. And if I'm going to be ingesting a high calorie, high fat food, like I want to enjoy it. I'm not just going to eat a bad chocolate cake because it is exists in my house. So since I was already standing over by the stove making curry and making chocolate cake, I thought it would also be a great moment to make more beans. So I soaked some Rancho Gordo white lima beans, which to me, and I think by the internet's definition, lima beans are green. When they're white, they're butter beans. They're the same plant, just at different stages. Anyway, they were called white lima beans on Rancho Gordo. I soaked them in a Cambro with water, filled to 1 pound, filled to the 3-quart line for 4 hours. Um, then I poured all of that into a pot. I brought it to a boil with all of the soaking liquid. I actually, this was perfect. If you want 2 quarts of cooking liquid, just do a pound of beans, fill it up with water until it hits 3 quarts, and then it'll yield you 2 quarts of cooking water after a 4-hour soak. Um, so I brought that to a low boil for about 10 minutes, skimmed it, kept it at a low simmer for about 2 hours, and let it cool on the stove. Added salt towards the end. They were perfectly tender and they kept their shape. It was a great cooking experience. Okay, April 1st, 2026, it was a Wednesday. 8 a.m., Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m., leftover curry and basmati rice. 1 p.m., a slice of chocolate cake and a small cup of milk. 6:30 p.m., Screamin' Sicilian cheese pizza and romaine lettuce with parmesan and white lima beans marinated in la tourgelle, olive oil, lemon juice, chives, and black pepper made at home. 7:30 p.m., a slice of chocolate cake. So I was at home today. It was Wednesday. I overslept to make it into the office in time for a 9 a.m. all staff meeting, so I just stayed home, which is unfortunate for my walking routine and also my cake room reporting. I even packed a lunch. I was fully planning on going into the office. But also my boss is out for Passover, so it kind of didn't matter. And why bother going into the office to not talk to anybody when gas is $4 and in North Carolina it's $4 a gallon, which is a lot when it was like 250 a month ago or whatever. Okay, Screamin' Sicilian frozen cheese pizza. This pizza looked so delicious and cheesy on the box, almost like a white pizza. It's definitely not a white pizza. It's very sauce. I mean, there's so little cheese on it that it's more sauce by default. Very disappointing. Not cheesy enough. If you're getting a cheese pizza, I want it to be cheesy. And it's bizarre because Screamin' Sicilian is so plentiful with the pepperoni. You would think they'd be plentiful with the cheese. Like why are the pepperoni and the cheese pizzas the same price? It doesn't make any sense. This bean salad that I made with I took some of the cold white lima beans, rinsed them off, and tossed them in a ton of lemon juice and chives, and it was really simple and good. And I just put that all over some larger romaine leaves. It was like definitely like a fork and knife salad. Romaine lettuce leaves cut in half, and then nestled the beans and all the sauce in the lettuce leaves like a lettuce cup. It's great. Made up for the frozen pizza. Okay, April 2nd, 2026. It was a Thursday. 8 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. Leftover curry over basmati rice. 12 p.m. Leftover white lima beans and 4 garlic and herb water crackers. Cake room, a box of matzah. 3:30 p.m. A slice of chocolate cake. 5:30 p.m. Pasta fagioli with white lima beans, orzo, parmesan, and la tourgelle olive oil made at home. 7 p.m. A slice of chocolate cake. I was eating Leftover curry, I had a single small purple potato in the leftover curry, and it tasted like the ocean. It tasted salty and briny. Maybe had some fish flavor from the curry paste. I don't know. It was very interesting. Okay, I worked from home, but I did meet with my boss who was in the office and said that she put a box of matzah in the cake room. So that's how I know what was in the cake room. Um, I made a different cake. Let's talk about it. When there was an egg shortage, however many years ago, I decided to look up chocolate depression cakes. And I made a cake that was delicious. And I was like, I'm just going to go try and find that. Now, I looked through all my notes and my records. I couldn't figure out. I'm like 99% sure that it's this recipe from iambaker.net, which, again, is a random blog. Amanda Retke. Like, who knows who this person is? I am Baker? Like, it sounds like a robot made this website. Chocolate depression cake, in parentheses, wacky cake. So, this is an excellent recipe. Let me share it with you. The cake, and this is for an 8x8 pan. 1.5, and she does list things in grams, which is perfect. 1.5 cups or 187 grams of all-purpose flour, 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar, quarter cup or 29.5 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon white vinegar, third of a cup of vegetable oil, 1 cup of water. The frosting, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, softened, 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup or 125 grams of confectioner's sugar, 3 tablespoons of whole milk or heavy cream. Now, this recipe, the ROI, return on investment, return of your effort, compared to the previous recipe where you had to bloom all the chocolate and dirty a bunch of different pans, this is the perfect chocolate cake recipe because you're basically creating a box mix, but you can use organic ingredients that you already have, which is my preference. Since we're at war and food prices might be going up, this felt like a good recipe to make. Depression cake. But look, I had buttermilk in the fridge. I do have access to dairy products. So I did alter the recipe. And you know what? I think an egg recipe is better without the eggs. So here's what I did. 187 grams of all-purpose flour, 175 grams of granulated sugar. I did reduce the sugar. 29.5 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder. I did a full teaspoon of diamond crystal kosher salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a third of a cup of vegetable oil, 1 cup of buttermilk, and then I added a quarter cup of water because the buttermilk was so thick and, I don't, the water's going to cook off that extra quarter cup just to keep it moist and make sure I don't overcook it. Okay, frosting. I upped it to 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, softened, 3 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder. I substituted the honey. Wait, I don't remember. I don't know how to say this. I substituted 1 tablespoon of Dave's coffee syrup for honey. Instead of honey, I did coffee syrup. I don't know how to say that. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 100 grams of confectioner sugar. I did reduce it. 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of buttermilk, and a quarter teaspoon of diamond crystal kosher salt. I'm baking this cake in an 8x8 aluminum fat daddio pan. Now, it's a really light metal. They say that if you're using a dark metal, you should reduce the temperature. I reduced the temperature regardless, so I baked it at 325 to avoid burning the edges. I would say the edges still cooked like a tiny bit more than I would have liked, but that's just the edge. That's what the edge is gonna taste like. It took about 30 to 32 minutes. I pulled the cake when the thermometer registered 195 and was making that crinkling singing sound. I also wonder on the previous cake if the blooming of the cocoa also contributed to the overall overdone flavor, plus the addition of eggs sort of made it feel more rubbery. The Southern Bite cake recipe really poured into the pan. This was more of like a thicker dump and spread out in the pan batter. But it was the perfect chocolate cake, like an elevated box mix. You can't really beat it. The frosting. I am a frosting fan. That's why I eat cake, to be honest. Ina Garten always says to add coffee to your cake. The recipe writer said you could substitute the cup of water in this cake recipe for a cup of coffee. Obviously, used buttermilk instead, but I could have used coffee instead of half or a quarter cup of water, I guess. But I thought I would add some coffee syrup for that coffee flavor in the frosting. You don't really even taste the coffee. It just does really enhance the flavor of the chocolate. I did see someone on TikTok say that the best American buttercreams use part syrup as the sugar component. I don't remember why. I don't remember the argument. I think about something about the way it sets and doesn't harden, but whatever. Um, this is an amazing recipe. Really amazing. It was like the ratio was like 2/3 cake to 1/3 frosting. Perfect. Now for this dinner that I made pasta visual. I made it like a dry pasta visual via Arthur Schwartz. This person who runs a blog, what's her name? Donna Walsifer. She has a blog called donnasdailydish.com. She shared this Arthur Schwartz recipe. This recipe is from 1998 from Naples at Table. I basically made this the way it is, the way this recipe is written. Quarter cup of extra virgin olive oil, plus a quarter cup to half a cup more to make the hot pepper oil. I didn't do that. Okay, 2 large cloves of garlic, finely minced, quarter cup, eighth of a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 3 canned and peeled plum tomatoes, half a teaspoon of salt, 2.5 to 3 cups of cooked cannellini beans with enough of their cooking liquid to barely cover them, 6 ounces of large tubular pasta, hot pepper oil. So you make pasta visual. But it's like a drier version. I basically made this. I used orzo. I did not make hot pepper oil, but it could have used a bit more fat, I would say. I guess I skimped on the extra virgin olive oil, but it was pretty good. I used half a can of diced San Marzano potatoes, and I froze the other half, and I used the butter beans. Okay, April 3rd, 2026. It was a Friday. 8:30 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half. 12:30 p.m. A jalapeno, honey mustard, crispy chicken crunchwrap slider, steak and guac nacho fries, and a cantina chicken rolled quesadilla with avocado salsa from Taco Bell in Oxford, North Carolina. 3:30 p.m. An iced coffee with half and half and a can of Fuji apple spindrift from Bolted Bread in Raleigh. 6 p.m. Baba ganoush and tabbouleh from Neomond in Raleigh. 8 p.m. A slice of chocolate cake. So I didn't have work this day because it's technically Good Friday, but the university calls it spring holiday or something. Spent the first part of the morning deciding which of the 6 Food Lion locations within a 15 to 25-minute drive of my house I would go to today. Having the opportunity to choose in which of the Food Lion locations I would browse the same mediocre products is so sick. But to be honest, if the Piggly Wiggly with the hole in the floor was still open, I probably would have just gone there. My trip was delayed by Daddy, my cat, choosing to go to sleep on me. The Taco Bell order. So I went to Food Line, then I went to Taco Bell. So Brian, the last time we had Taco Bell, Brian said, "Please never take us to Taco Bell again." And I said, "Fine, I'll delete the app off my phone." I did delete the app off my phone, but when I got a new phone, it re-downloaded. So I have the app again, which I promptly use to order myself this mini Crunchwrap slider. When Brian saw the commercial for these Crunchwrap sliders, he said, "Oh my God, we have to go." And I said, "Remember last week when you told me to never let you eat Taco Bell again?" Some people can't handle Taco Bell. They're just not made for it. Brian can eat rotten food and be fine, but his body cannot handle Taco Bell. My dad has been training me my whole life, like a Williams, Serena Venus sister, to eat Taco Bell. And I'm pretty good at it. The jalapeno honey mustard was incredible, even though when they put crispy chicken inside of an enclosed tortilla, it always gets soggy, even if you eat it right away. Stop doing this. On the commercial, the Crunchwrap slider is not fully enclosed, so the crispy chicken is sticking out of it, which they should figure out. They should actually make the product look like that. The steak and guac nacho fries were, I would describe it like baby food. So smothered in sauce that it was basically a liquid. So soggy, I didn't finish it. The guac sauce that they use, it's disgusting. And I don't want a lot of loose cream cheese everywhere. I'll take the nacho cheese sauce. The Cantina chicken rolled quesadilla was pretty good. It has chipotle ranch in it. I think it also had nacho cheese in it. I don't remember. It was so saucy, but then it also came with a packet of avocado salsa, which really just like put it over the edge. The weirdest part of it though is that it comes cut in half as if you are a child. It's a product designed for a child. So Brian convinced me to drive into the NC State Student Agroecology Farm to visit him at work. They were having a goodbye party for their apprentice. And I was like, why would I go to your work party? That's so weird. But I did end up going and hanging out with a lot of cows. I did stop at Bolted Bread on the way. By the time I got there, they were out of everything except for shortbread cookies. And I picked up a package for the apprentice who was graduating. I gave them to her. She left them on a table and walked away. And I'm sure they're still sitting on that table. Um, Ordered a cold brew, one for me, one for Brian. Picked up a can of Spindrift. I was so thirsty. I forgot to drink water before I left the house. And I'm sitting there on the bench waiting for my coffee. And I'm like, where's the barista? The tickets are pouring out of the machine. I mean, there's nothing left to buy in there, so people are just ordering coffees. The tickets will not stop coming out. So I'm sitting there. There's a girl behind the counter talking to a friend who's on the other side of the counter. And I'm like, you would think she would be like, oh, let me go get the barista. This is crazy. Finally, she stops talking to her friend and is like, "Oh, I guess I should make these coffee tickets." That was the barista. She was just talking to her friend the whole time. And I was like, I'm all about socializing with your friend in a restaurant. There's social environments, coffee shops are social environments, but like learn how to multitask. You can pour cold brew into a cup while talking to your friend. It was insane. Okay, anyway, I had the apple flavor, Fuji apple flavor of the Spindrift. It was 20 calories, which is the highest calorie Spindrift I've ever seen. So I did have to mark it down on my log. I would not buy this again. I don't even like apple as a concept, so I don't know why I bought this, but um, I think partially because of whatever Lena Dunham said about the apple flavored Olipop, I think. There's an apple flavored cultured soda, one of those cultured soda brands. There are like 800 of them now. Lena Dunham said that the apple flavor transformed her life and made her the most creative person she's ever been. So now everybody's losing their mind and buying cases of them. It's activating her brain. This did not activate my brain. I gave the second half of it to Brian. Okay, I just poured myself a very full glass of water for this next point that I need to make. The cows on the farm were drinking out of a big bucket of water, and I cannot believe the way that they drink water. I don't know if it was these cows in particular, if this is how cows drink, but I thought they would, like, lap the water up like a dog or a cat. I mean, they're obviously putting their mouth into the water and, like, using their tongue in some way, but the way that they were it was like they were sucking the water, and hold on, I'm gonna put water up to my face and drink like the cow. You're gonna hear it. That's how they were drinking. That's how they were drinking the water. Got water all over my laptop. Okay. It was like they were sipping hot soup. It was crazy. Okay. So Neomond catered this goodbye party, which I've always heard of. They make their own bread, apparently. They have a couple locations. They have a Raleigh location, they have a Durham location. It's Mediterranean food. People are always talking about it. It was fine. I didn't eat a lot of it because I was sick from all the Taco Bell that I ate. But also, I don't work at this farm, so I didn't want to eat a bunch of food. It was fine. Also, someone tore up all the pita bread into small pieces with their hands, so I was like, I'm not touching that. On the drive home, I passed a satellite dish on someone's tree that somebody wrote the word Trump on in red paint, but the T was very far away from the R, so it just looked like it said T rump, like a cut of meat. Went home and ate a cold slice of chocolate cake. Brian, on the way home, stopped and got more Middle Eastern food. He was like, Neomond actually isn't good. I need to stop at Sassoul. He was trying to convince everybody to eat Sassoul. And you know what? I was like, you're crazy. But we ate it the next day and he was right. Sassoul is so much better. Like eating two different Mediterranean places back to back like that, that's the way you got to do it. And like, it is insane, but you really do realize which is better. So much more flavor, so many more herbs, so much more depth. You could the tahini, the lemon. I mean, it was just everything was just on point at Sassoul. Okay, April 4th, 2026. It was a Saturday, 8 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home, and a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit and potato rounds from Bojangles in Oxford, North Carolina. 1 p.m. Hummus, baba ganoush, beets, and mujadara from Sassoul in Raleigh, North Carolina. 2 p.m. A slice of chocolate cake. 5 p.m. Sausage and tortellini soup with parmesan made at home. So Brian got up at like 5 a.m. to go get fertilizer so we could plant our potatoes. And of course, he returned with a proper farm breakfast from Bojangles. This sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit was fine. I mean, it's so salty. It's like your daily value, dailies. How do you say it? It's like all the salt you would eat in a day in one biscuit. But the potato rounds, they're very hit or miss, but these were perfect and crispy and just the perfect amount of greasiness and just the perfect amount of salt and Cajun seasoning. Perfection. Even after traveling in the car. Now, here's my one complaint about the Sassoul food. Their mujadara is more like a cold lentil salad. I really prefer the version where it's like very rice heavy and very caramelized onion forward. This was more, I mean, it was basically cold lentil salad and wet rice. It was weird. Um, so all my garlic finally dried out. We'll be harvesting garlic in a few months, so I'll have more fresh garlic, but I'm having to buy it from the grocery store again. As I was smashing my garlic cloves for the sausage and tortellini soup, I was reminded of how 90s and early 2000s Food Network was just a 24-hour channel of content and footage of people telling you to smash your garlic cloves by hitting the heel of your hand on your knife. That's all it was. And they drilled it into our heads so often that people don't even need to tell anybody that anymore. It's common knowledge at this point. So I did go to Food Lion on Friday, as I said, and bought cheap. I'm trying to spend less money on food now that we're in wartime. I did order a huge bag of rice and a huge bag of white beans because, but you know, what is it? There's like two different oil markets. There's the paper market. The if you Google how much a barrel of oil is right now, it's like 115, but the actual price that's currently trading is like 154. That price won't hit us till, it transports in like 2 to 3 weeks. So prices are going to go up. I'm not an economist. I'm just trying to remember what is going on. Okay. So I'm using cheap Food Lion cheese tortellini and Johnsonville sausage that was on sale. It's kind of affecting the flavor. I mean, this Food Lion tortellini, you can taste. I remember now why I stopped buying it, even though it does go on sale all the time, and there's probably a reason for that. You can taste the dirty processing facilities that they're making these products in. It tastes like a dirty sink. To get rid of that flavor, I think you just really need to cook the hell out of it. And I did warm it up and eat it this morning. Spoiler alert for next week. And it did remove a lot of that weird flavor, but my God. Here's sausage and tortellini soup, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 package of Johnsonville sweet Italian sausage, 1 yellow onion diced, 5 cloves of garlic minced, 5 chiltepine peppers, 1 teaspoon of Gustiamo oregano, dried oregano, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, 1 bay leaf, 1 Parmesan rind, 2 carrots diced, 2 celery stalks diced, 1 cup of leftover large white lima beans, rinsed, half of a leftover can of 28-ounce diced tomatoes that was left over from the pasta fagioli, 1 quart of homemade chicken stock, and Food Lion cheese tortellini that tastes like a dirty sink. Okay, April 5th, 2026. It was a Sunday. It was Easter Sunday. 9 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home. 11 a.m. Scrambled eggs with chives and leftover pasta fagioli made at home. 12:30 p.m. A slice of chocolate cake. 2 p.m. A Bubba burger on a sesame seeded hamburger bun with white American cheese, ketchup, yellow mustard, mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, and onion, coleslaw, Cape Cod salt and vinegar potato chips, half a can of Blue Moon, and pound cake with Cool Whip and strawberries at Brian's parents' house. 6 p.m. A handful of garlic and herb water crackers. There's nothing like eating Easter hamburgers instead of Easter ham. What was going on? Brian's parents asked us to come over to eat hamburgers. I said no twice. The third time she asked me, I was like, fine. We made Bubba burgers. They were completely unsalted. I never liked hamburgers growing up, and it's because my parents cooked us well done, under seasoned beef. And I was like, this is horrible. It wasn't until I moved out of the house that I realized I liked hamburgers. So that's what this experience was like. It's just like, oh man. And then I already ate cake, and then we ate more cake. So I ate cake on more cake. Ryan's mom told us that she sank in quicksand, so we need to be careful. There's quicksand by the pond, and Brian's dad pulled her out, so she's okay, but be careful. And then she told us that she was sick and needed to go to bed. So I went home around 4, and it's like, well, I've eaten so much food today, but it was all so weird and unsatisfying and heavily processed that I'm still peckish and weird, and then I end up eating crackers and wandering around the house wondering what I'm going to do next. I think my next cake project in honor of Easter, my grandmother used to make a coconut cake in the shape of a rabbit. I think the coconut is supposed to be like fur. She used to make that for Easter, and so I associate coconut cake with Easter. I want to do like a coconut sheet cake. Very simple. I think I'm going to take the I Am Baker recipe. I'm going to do like a vanilla version of the buttermilk cake. I'm just going to do that same recipe, but without the cocoa powder, but then add sweetened flaked coconut on top, I think. No fake coconut flavor. I don't think we need that. And I don't know, maybe I'll take the cake out of the pan, cut it in half, and put like some sort of like fruity jam layer in between. That would be nice. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll talk to you later.